The courtroom was already thick with tension as Rasheeda sat front and center, bracing for one of the most painful days of her life. Her divorce hearing with Kirk Frost had fans glued to the drama, with whispers about betrayal, secrets, and years of lies finally coming to light. But just when everyone thought they had seen the worst, the doors to the courtroom swung open, and in walked Jasmine, the very woman who turned Rasheeda's marriage upside down in the first place. Gasps filled the room. Rasheeda's eyes widened. Kirk froze in shock, and the judge even paused as Jasmine made her way toward the front. And she wasn't there to watch. She was there to speak. The moment Jasmine took the stand, jaws dropped. No one could have predicted the words that were about to leave her mouth. If Rasheeda thought she was walking into a clean break from Kirk, Jasmine's sudden appearance shattered that fantasy in seconds. Because Jasmine didn't just come with receipts. She came with a bombshell that threatened to change the entire outcome of this divorce. What did Jasmine reveal? Why did she choose this moment, of all times, to show up? And most importantly, how did Rasheeda react when the truth exploded right in her face? Buckle up, because this isn't just courtroom drama. This is betrayal, heartbreak, and revenge all unfolding live. The courtroom in Atlanta was tense, silent, and buzzing all at once. Rasheeda sat in the front row with her attorneys, her posture stiff, her jaw clenched, and her eyes locked on the judge. This was the moment she had dreaded and prepared for, the official divorce hearing from Kirk Frost. Years of betrayal, cheating scandals, and humiliation had finally driven her to this breaking point. She had kept her composure for the cameras, for the fans, and for her brand. But now, with her entire marriage under the microscope of the law, every wound felt raw all over again. Kirk, sitting just a few feet away, looked surprisingly calm, almost smug. His lawyer whispered something to him that made him smirk, as if he believed he still had some kind of leverage. And for a second, Rasheeda wondered if he did. She had already dealt with enough humiliation thanks to his infidelity. She knew about Jasmine, she knew about the child, she knew about the lies. But divorce court wasn't about closure, it was about evidence. And Rasheeda wasn't sure what more Kirk had tucked away in his arsenal. The audience inside the courtroom was a mix of legal aides, fans who had managed to sneak in, and people from the love and hip-hop circle who wanted to witness history. Because everyone knew, this wasn't just a marriage ending. This was Rasheeda Frost, the boss chick, reclaiming her dignity after years of being dragged through the mud by the man who vowed to love her. But just as the clerk began reading the case details, the heavy wooden doors at the back creaked open. A hush fell over the room as all eyes turned toward the entrance. And then, she appeared. Jasmine. The woman who had become the face of Rasheeda's heartbreak, the woman tied forever to Kirk's betrayal, and the mother of the child who symbolized everything Rasheeda had fought so hard to overcome. Dressed in a sleek black dress with her hair pulled back tight, Jasmine's entrance wasn't loud, but it was powerful. It was like the universe had dropped a grenade in the middle of the courtroom. Gasps erupted. Phones quietly lifted as people tried to snap pictures. Rasheeda's face went pale. Kirk's eyes widened, and for the first time that day, the smug expression slipped right off his face. "What is she doing here?" Rasheeda whispered to her lawyer, her voice tight with both fear and fury. The judge banged the gavel. Order in the court, but the energy was already chaotic. Jasmine didn't just walk in and sit quietly. She strode confidently toward the front, heels clicking against the marble floor, every step amplifying the tension. "Your Honor," Jasmine said, her voice steady, "I need to be heard. I have information that is crucial to this case." The courtroom exploded with whispers. Rasheeda's attorney shot up immediately. "Objection! This is highly irregular. She is not on the witness list." But Jasmine wasn't backing down. She clutched a thick folder in her hands and looked directly at the judge. "With all due respect, this isn't just about their divorce. There are things that Kirk hasn't disclosed, and the truth needs to come out." Rasheeda sat frozen, her mind spinning. She had already endured the public shame of Jasmine's affair with her husband and the birth of his child outside their marriage. What else could there possibly be? Was there another child? More cheating? Financial secrets? The judge frowned but motioned for Jasmine to approach. "I'll allow her to be heard briefly, but keep it relevant." Relevant? Rasheeda's heart pounded in her chest. Everything about Jasmine felt like a personal attack, a reminder of every scar Kirk had left behind. And now, in front of everyone, Jasmine was about to rip those scars wide open again. Jasmine took the stand, placing her folder on the desk. She locked eyes with Rasheeda, and for a moment it felt like the entire courtroom disappeared. "I didn't come here to embarrass you," Jasmine said softly, her voice shaking just slightly. "But you deserve the truth." Rasheeda's fists clenched against her lap. The audacity of Jasmine claiming this was about truth, when she was the very reason Rasheeda's life had spiraled, felt unbearable. The judge cleared his throat. "Proceed." Jasmine opened the folder, pulling out papers that looked like financial documents, paternity records, and even photographs. "This isn't just about the child we all know about," she said, her eyes darting toward Kirk, who now looked visibly shaken. "There's more. Kirk has been hiding additional assets, accounts, and connections that prove he's been living a double life for years. And it's not just me involved." The room went silent. Even Rasheeda's attorney froze mid-note, staring at Jasmine like she had just unleashed a bomb. Rasheeda blinked rapidly, her chest heaving. "More?" she muttered under her breath. Jasmine nodded slowly. "Yes, and if you think I was the only one, you're wrong." Gasps echoed again, louder this time. The judge slammed the gavel once more. "Order! Order in the court!" But the order was gone. The whispers spread like wildfire. Kirk had another secret? More than Jasmine? More than the child everyone already knew about? Rasheeda felt the room closing in. The betrayal, the lies, the humiliation. It was like reliving the first time she found out about Jasmine all over again, but 10 times worse. Her divorce hearing was supposed to be the final step toward freedom. Instead, it was turning into a circus of secrets. Kirk, now visibly sweating, tried to lean over to his lawyer, whispering furiously. His lawyer shook his head, panicked. The smugness was gone, replaced with desperation, and Rasheeda, with tears threatening to spill from her eyes, realized that Jasmine's arrival wasn't just drama. It was destruction. Whatever bombshell she was about to drop could change everything: the divorce settlement, the custody battles, even Rasheeda's entire financial future. The judge leaned forward, staring at Jasmine. "You understand the gravity of what you're saying?" Jasmine nodded firmly. "I do. And I have the proof right here." She tapped the folder. Rasheeda's entire body stiffened. The bombshell was seconds away from exploding. And the world was about to find out that Kirk Frost's betrayal went even deeper than anyone ever imagined. The courtroom was frozen in suspense. Jasmine's hands hovered over the folder like it contained nuclear codes, while every eye in the room fixated on her next move. The tension was unbearable, a suffocating weight pressing down on everyone inside those walls. Rasheeda sat stiff, her nails digging into her palm, her whole body trembling between fury and fear. She didn't want to give Jasmine the satisfaction of watching her unravel, but deep down, she could already feel it, the ground shifting under her feet. Kirk wasn't just guilty of infidelity. He was guilty of hiding something bigger, something darker. The judge leaned forward, his voice stern but curious. "Miss Washington, you've made a very serious claim. If you have proof, present it." Jasmine opened the folder and pulled out the first set of papers. The silence was deafening as she laid them flat on the desk. "These," she said clearly, "are bank statements. They show multiple accounts under shell companies connected directly to Kirk Frost. Accounts he never disclosed during discovery. Accounts that show millions of dollars being transferred, hidden, and laundered through business names that don't exist on paper." A loud murmur erupted across the room. Even Rasheeda's lawyer's jaw dropped. He immediately reached for the papers, his eyes scanning the numbers in disbelief. This is fraud," he muttered under his breath. Kirk shot up from his seat, his face red with rage. "That's a lie! This is all fabricated! She doesn't know what she's talking about!" But Jasmine didn't flinch. She pulled out another sheet, this one stamped with legal authenticity. "This," she said, "is a notarized statement from one of the accountants Kirk used to funnel money through. It matches every transaction listed here. And guess what? The money wasn't just hidden. Some of it was used to fund private properties, secret cars, and even a condo, where he's been keeping another woman. The words sliced through the air like a knife. Rasheeda gasped audibly. The blood drained. From her face and her stomach lurched. Another woman? Another secret residence? Another betrayal layered on top of years of pain? She could barely keep her composure as the tears stung her eyes. No, Rasheeda whispered, her voice breaking. Tell me you're lying. But Jasmine shook her head. I wish I was. The audience inside the courtroom exploded with chatter, and the bailiff shouted for order. The judge slammed the gavel again. Quiet! But the damage was already done. Kirk sat down heavily, his head buried in his hands. For the first time, his bravado was gone. He looked cornered, exposed. Jasmine wasn't finished. She reached into the folder once more and pulled out photographs. The images, grainy but clear enough, showed Kirk entering and exiting a luxury apartment complex with a young woman who was not Rasheeda, and not Jasmine either. The pictures weren't recent, but they painted a damning timeline of deceit. This is her, Jasmine announced, her voice ringing with conviction. The woman Kirk has been seeing for over 3 years. And yes, before you ask, there's a child involved. The collective gasp that followed was louder than anything before. People in the gallery clutched their chests, some even covering their mouths in shock. Rasheeda's entire world shattered in that moment. Her breath hitched, her chest heaved, and she felt like the room was spinning. Another child, another betrayal, another living reminder of Kirk's lies. Rasheeda stood abruptly, her chair screeching across the floor. No, you're not about to stand here and tell me my husband has 2 secret families. One was bad enough, but 2? Her voice cracked, tears rolling uncontrollably down her cheeks. The judge banged the gavel again, trying to restore order. Mrs. Frost, please, but Rasheeda couldn't stop. The emotions she had held in for years, the humiliation she swallowed, the grace she forced herself to carry, it all exploded in that moment. Do you have any idea what I've been through? Do you know how many nights I cried myself to sleep while the world laughed at me? And all this time. She pointed at Kirk, her hand shaking violently. All this time you were sitting on another lie? Another child? Another woman? Kirk tried to speak, but his voice cracked. Rasheeda, please. It's not what it looks like. But she laughed bitterly, a sound so hollow it echoed in the chamber. Not what it looks like? What part of this doesn't look like betrayal, Kirk? What part of this doesn't scream humiliation? Jasmine lowered her head slightly, her voice softer now. I didn't come here to hurt you, Rasheeda. I came here because I couldn't watch him get away with it again. He manipulated me. He lied to me too. And when I realized I wasn't the only one, I knew I had to tell you. Rasheeda turned her glare on Jasmine, fury radiating from her eyes. You're no savior, Jasmine. You knew what you were doing when you laid down with my husband. Don't stand here and act like this is about protecting me. This is about protecting yourself. Jasmine didn't argue. She simply nodded, taking the weight of Rasheeda's words. The judge, clearly exasperated, adjusted his glasses. This court will recess for 30 minutes. When we return, we will determine how this evidence impacts the proceedings. The gavel slammed, but no one moved. The air was still thick, charged with the fallout of Jasmine's revelation. Kirk slumped back in his chair, defeated, his face in his hands. The image of power and control he had clung to for years was gone. Now he was just a man exposed, stripped, of every defense. Rasheeda, meanwhile, stood frozen, her tears falling silently as her body trembled. Everything she thought she knew about her marriage was gone. This wasn't just a divorce anymore. This was a public execution of every ounce of trust she had ever given Kirk. As the bailiffs called for recess, Rasheeda stumbled toward the hallway, needing air, needing space, needing to breathe. The cameras followed, fans whispered, and producers, from Love and Hip Hop, who had been lingering in the back, whispered to each other about how this moment was television gold. But for Rasheeda, it wasn't entertainment. It was hell. And as she stepped out of that courtroom, collapsing into the arms of her friend, the words kept replaying in her mind. Another woman. Another child. Another lie. Her marriage wasn't just over. Her entire past had been rewritten. The 30-minute recess did nothing to calm the storm brewing inside that courthouse. If anything, the break only gave everyone more time to speculate, gossip, and stir the pot. The hallway outside the courtroom was buzzing like a beehive, packed with reporters, fans, and love and hip-hop cameras that refused to miss a single second of this chaos. When the bailiff finally called everyone back inside, the room was twice as tense as before. Rasheeda returned to her seat, her face pale, her makeup smudged from tears. She looked broken, but beneath the cracks was a fire. Something inside her had shifted. She wasn't just a victim anymore. She was ready for war. Kirk, on the other hand, looked like a man unraveling. His shirt collar was unbuttoned, his forehead glistened with sweat, and his once confident swagger was gone. He didn't meet Rasheeda's eyes, didn't glance at Jasmine, didn't look at anyone. He just sat there, slumped, waiting for the walls to close in. The judge re-entered, his gavel slamming down. Court is now back in session. Miss Washington, you've presented evidence that could potentially alter the terms of this divorce. However, this court needs clarity. His gaze shifted to Kirk. Mr. Frost, do you deny or admit to the claims made here today? All eyes locked on Kirk. His lips parted, but no words came. The silence was deafening, every second stretching like an eternity. Finally, after what felt like forever, Kirk whispered, I can't deny all of it. Gasps echoed across the courtroom. Rasheeda's head snapped toward him, her mouth falling open in shock. So it's true, she whispered, her voice shaking. Everything she said, it's true? Kirk raised his head, his eyes glassy with regret. I didn't want you to find out like this. I was trying to protect you. Protect me? Rasheeda's voice thundered across the room. She shot to her feet, pointing a trembling finger at him. You call lying, cheating, hiding money, and creating another family protection? No, Kirk, you weren't protecting me. You were protecting yourself. The judge called for order, but Rasheeda wasn't finished. Her rage was unstoppable now, years of pain boiling over. Do you have any idea what you've done to me? To our kids? To our family? You humiliated me on national television, and I still stayed. I fought for us. I defended you when the world told me to walk away. And this? She gestured toward Jasmine's folder, the papers, the photos. This is how you repay me, the way? Audience sat in stunned silence. Even Jasmine looked shaken by the raw power of Rasheeda's words. Kirk tried to stand, his voice breaking. Rasheeda, I made mistakes, but I love you. Don't you dare say you love me, Rasheeda snapped. Love doesn't look like this. Love doesn't destroy someone and expect them to smile through the pain. Her lawyer placed a steadying hand on her shoulder, urging her to sit. But Rasheeda shook him off, her eyes locked on Kirk like daggers. Tao. Judge cleared his throat, shifting the focus back to the legal matter. Based on the evidence presented, the financial disclosures provided by Mr. Frost appear to be incomplete and potentially fraudulent. This will have significant implications on the division of assets. That was the nail in Kirk's coffin. His carefully constructed empire, the businesses, the properties, all of it was now under threat of being seized, divided, or exposed. But Rasheeda wasn't done delivering her truth. She turned toward Jasmine, her tone sharp but laced with something else: resignation. You dropped your bombshell, Jasmine. You tore open my wounds in front of the world. But let me be clear, you will never break me. Not you, not him, not anyone. Jasmine's lips parted, but she stayed quiet, almost humbled by Rasheeda's strength. The judge began rattling off orders, asset freezes, further investigations, and scheduling for final divorce proceedings, but the words blurred into the background. The real drama wasn't in the legal jargon. It was in the way Rasheeda rose from the ashes of her heartbreak, stronger than anyone expected. When the gavel slammed for the final time that day, Rasheeda stood tall, her back straight, her eyes fierce. She didn't cry, didn't falter. She simply gathered her things, turned her back on Kirk, and walked out. The cameras followed as she exited the courthouse. The crowd outside erupted in shouts, microphones shoved in her face, fans yelling words of encouragement. "Stay strong, Rasheeda," someone cried. "We love you," shouted another. And in that moment, despite the chaos, despite the betrayal, Rasheeda looked like a queen reclaiming her throne. Kirk, meanwhile, stumbled out minutes later, shielded by his lawyers. Reporters hurled questions at him, but he kept, his head down, his shame written across his face. The man who once strutted with arrogance now looked like a shadow of himself. As for Jasmine, she slipped quietly out a side door, avoiding the crowd. She had delivered her truth, but at what cost? Fans speculated online, some praising her for exposing Kirk, others condemning her for reopening Rasheeda's wounds. Social media exploded with reactions. Twitter threads dissected every detail. Instagram lit up with memes, split between dragging Kirk and celebrating Rasheeda's strength. The hashtags #Team Rasheeda and Kirk Exposed trended for hours, but inside Rasheeda's heart, the noise didn't matter. For once, this wasn't about the cameras, the fans, or the show. This was about her finding freedom. She finally whispered to herself, almost like a prayer, "I'm done." And this time, everyone knew she meant it. And there you have it. What was supposed to be just another divorce hearing turned into one of the most explosive courtroom dramas Love and Hip Hop fans have ever witnessed. Rasheeda walked in hoping for closure, only to be blindsided by Jasmine's shocking receipts and Kirk's devastating confession. But instead of breaking down, Rasheeda rose up, showing a strength that left the entire courtroom and all of us speechless. Now the big question remains: what's next? Will Rasheeda finally walk away from Kirk for good, or will there be even more shocking twists behind the scenes? And let's not forget Jasmine. Did she really come to help, or did she just pour gasoline on an already burning fire? One thing is certain: this isn't the end of the story, not by a long shot. If Love and Hip Hop has taught us anything, it's that secrets have a way of crawling back into the spotlight, and with Kirk's empire under legal scrutiny, the fallout could be even bigger than the betrayal. But I want to hear from you. Do you think Jasmine did the right thing by exposing Kirk in court? Or was this just another messy attempt to stay relevant? And what about Rasheeda? Should she rebuild her life and never look back? Or is there still room for forgiveness after everything that's come out? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe for more exclusive updates. Because trust me, this story is far from over.